Hey everyone, hi, welcome back to my channel. I'm Shelly and I absolutely love books and reading, so much so that I have a whole channel dedicated to this passion. And today I am going to be unboxing a box that I mailed to myself from California to South Carolina. South Carolina is my home state. And I was vacationing in California and I did a ton of used book shopping. And so what I did was I filled up a box. I mailed this box full of books, about 35 books, to myself. And I just received this box yesterday. So I haven't seen my books in about 10 days, and a lot of these are recent purchases. Some of them were books that I brought with me to read in California and then read them and then mailed them back to myself. So some of them are read books, some of them are new books, and some of them you may have seen in a haul that I did a few weeks ago. So I will leave that link down below, and I will try not to linger on books that I've already talked about. But these days my memory is not the best, so I may not remember what I hauled 2 weeks ago. But I'll try. Okay, so that's what this video is. If you happen to be here and watch my videos but aren't subscribed, I would encourage you to think about subscribing and sticking around and hanging out with me as I do fun things like this, unboxing a huge box of books that I mailed to myself, from California. Okay, let's just get right into this. Right off the top, I can tell you that the first couple books I've already talked about, and they are tentatively for Garb August, which is an event that I am co-hosting here on BookTube with another Dirty Baker's Dozen. There are 12 other hosts of this Garb August event, and we are diving into the world of garbage. We are adventuring into the world of garbage. And so this is what I have picked up tentatively for that event. So I have The Devil's Web by Mary Ballou, The Delta of Venus, an erotica by Anise Nin, is that right? I hope so. So those were tentatively for Garb August. Oh, I finished Piranesi in California by Susanna Clark. This was the winner of the Women's Prize back in 2020, I believe. Maybe 2021, oh gracious me. And I read it in California. Actually, I read this in Vegas and I thought this was fantastic. A wonderful fantasy novel, rather short, and definitely I think geared for those who are not familiar with fantasy books. A good one to start with right here. I brought this next book on vacation with me, but I didn't actually end up reading it, and that is 4 Plays by Aristophanes. Last year I read Lysistrata and loved it, so this was a book that I already owned that made its way back to me through the post. Recently I finished a poetry book by Rumi. It's a small book called Gold, and I just absolutely enjoyed being back in the luxurious and wonderful world of poetry, and so it inspired these next 2 purchases. And that is William Blake, the poetry of William Blake, and this is the Penguin Poets edition. I thought, gosh, what a cool edition, what a cool Penguin edition to own, and William Blake is a fantastic poet for whom I need to get to know better. I also have a new Penguin edition of Shakespeare's Sonnets and A Lover's Complaint. So I've wanted a collection of Shakespeare's sonnets, and this has some commentary as well as all of Shakespeare's sonnets, and it's always a good time, so that's why I picked this up. One book that I've already all showed you, and you all went really, there was a very excited response in my comment section about this book, and that is One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest by Ken Casey. This is the edition with Jack Nicholson on the cover, and I got this at a little free library, and you all were very excited about this discovery for me. The next book I spotted had all of the right words buzzing around on its cover. Booker finalist, award winner, a classic, an instant classic. And I was like, what is this book that I have not heard of? And maybe this is one that I will really love. And so a cover buy. What is it? The buzzwords made me buy it moment. It's Rohinton Mysteries, A Fine Balance, which is apparently a Canadian classic. And one of the ways that this book was described is that it is about misery. What is it? The word they use, distrust. The characters go from distrust to friendship, from friendship to lovers. What? That sounds like a real good time. So I picked this up. I have proclaimed my love for Hilory Mantel on this channel and my absolute adoration of the Thomas Cromwell series. And so I picked up 3 more books by Hilory Mantel while I was on vacation. I have Every Day is Mother's Day, The Giant O'Brien, and The Assassination of Margaret Thatcher. This is short stories. So at this point, with these 3 books added to my collection, I have 5 unread Hilory Mantel books sitting on my shelf. So maybe a Hilory Mantel book, maybe a Hilory Mantel reading project is in my future. Did you all know that there is a Faustathon going on? Yes, a Faustathon. And I found out about this this event that's going on here on BookTube from Jennifer Brooks, and it's going on in the middle of August for 2 weeks. There are a ton of hosts. I will leave Jennifer's announcement video down below, and I was like, that's funny, I just bought Faust by...
In English, it is usually said as Goethe.
Okay, I always get Goethe's name it's just not the name that I remember, and it doesn't follow pronunciation rules. So Goethe. Okay, so Faust by Goethe, and I was like, oh, I just bought this. And so I am now considering picking up Faust for Faustathon in August, and I wanted to spread the word while I had a moment and was reminded of it. I have several nonfiction books in my box, and some of them are classics, like classic nonfiction works that I've wanted to read for a while. The first one is Rachel Carson's very famous book, Silent Spring, about the way that DDT is killing off important aspects of our environment, and so much so that spring doesn't have its awakening sounds anymore. Spring is now dead or silent, as Carson more poetically put it. And so this is one that I've wanted to get to, and I'm very glad to have it in my collection now. Another author that I have just been itching to read and to meet on the page, and that's Susan Sontag. I found this on a cart and it was half off. And so this is her book, Where the Stress Falls. This is a book of her essays. Her most famous book of essays is On Photography, which is one that I would love to get, but I couldn't pass up seeing Sontag's name in a nonfiction book, on a nonfiction book. It was like, it was tempting my soul, and so I gave into it. I also have a Simone de Beauvoir book, and this is her memoir called Memoirs of a Dutiful Daughter. She is most known for her book, The Second Sex, but again, it was kind of a Susan Sontag moment where I was like, you don't just see Simone de Beauvoir's name on a book and pass it up. Again, oh my goodness, maybe I'm just, maybe my weakness, maybe my Achilles heel, maybe the thing that brings me to my knees when it comes to spending is nonfiction, because again, it was more like the author's name triggered a response in my brain in which I had to have the book, and that is Rebecca Solnit. I've heard Rebecca Solnit praised all over BookTube, and I was like, I must meet her on the page. I must know who she is. And then of course I see the title of this and I was like, okay, she has just spoken to my heart. My heart is just fluttered. I cannot contain it. And the title is Recollections of My Non-Existence. So Rebecca Solnit came home with me. And then finally, it's a book that Steve Donahue recommended a while ago. Oh gosh, some drama. Books are falling. So this is a book that Steve Donahue recommended, and he said it was fantastic. And that's all I needed to know, because Steve Donahue, in my heart, has just wonderful taste in books. And that is Mrs. Jack. And this is the biography of Isabel Stewart Gardner. And I remember him talking about this a while ago, and then I saw it at the secondhand store and I was like, this is fate. you are mine. Okay, I have a handful of classics and a handful of contemporary books to talk about. The first classic is quite unknown to me, but it looked really good, and it is an NYRB classic book. NYRB is a publisher that has gotten quite a bit of love on BookTube in the last 6 months, and I have been introduced to this publisher and really enjoy the feel of their books and the quality of their books. And they focus on translated works and do great translations of works that, like Rumi, that you wouldn't necessarily think about. And so anyways, I found this book, and it's called The Strudel Steps, and this is by Erminto van Durer. This is a German classic, originally published in 1951. This was translated by Vincent Kling, and it is a portrait of Vienna in the 20th century. It's quite the chunkster and quite the leap of faith for me, but I am trying to spread my wings a little bit, not just buy always titles that I recognize and know, but to go off things like a publisher every once in a while. In regards to classics, I also have Anthony Trollope's The Way We Live Now, a collection of Emily Dickinson's poetry. I have Sophocles' The Oedipus Cycle, which you all are very gracious in correcting when I say Sophocles is Socrates, you know, but just a genuine and honest mistake on my part. I have Plato's The Republic, a book that I have read in my past, but it has been quite a long time. This gorgeous edition of George Eliot's Silas Marner. This is my second edition of Silas Marner, and I really ought to get to reading this very, very soon. And then this absolutely stunning Every Man's Library edition of Pride and Prejudice by Jane Austen, which I just did a reread of a mere week ago, and it was so incredible. I loved it so much. And I'm very, very happy to have this gorgeous hardcover in my library. The last stack of books are contemporary reads. So I have The Luminaries by Eleanor Catton, which I read back in March and thought it was fantastic. Decided to pick up a copy for my own library. I have the third book. I don't know why I bought the third book in this series because I have not read book 1 and 2. However, I feel this compulsivity to collect this series, so that's what I am doing. And that is Elena Ferrante's The Neapolitan series. This is the third book in her series, and this is Those Who Leave and Those Who Stay. So yeah, third book in her series, and I'm not sure why I'm collecting them. Haven't even started it yet. We also have Muriel Bradbury's The Elegance of a Hedgehog, which has been raved about here on BookTube. It's supposed to be a very sweet, sweet story and just magnificent writing. So very glad to have this beautiful copy of it in my collection. Ooh, I just finished something by this author, and that is Louise Erdrich's Love Medicine. I did not read Love Medicine. I finished The Sentence by Louise Erdrich and absolutely loved it. This is her first book. This is Erdrich's first work, and so according to the shop owner, this is a great place to start, and I am really, really, really excited to get back to Erdrich's body of work. I thought The Sentence was fantastic. Oh, last year I read Marilynne Robinson's Gilead. I think it was last year. And so I wanted to visit Robinson again in the same world in Iowa. And so I picked up Lila, which was talked about very positively on Jen from Insert Literary Pun Here. She talked about this book in a video she did a long while ago, and what sold me on it was that Lila has her own perspective, her very own unique point of view that Robinson does just a fantastic job of exploring. And as always with Robinson's work, it's very subtle, it's very beautiful. The themes that she explores are right up my alley as a reader, you know, me personally. And so I'm very excited to have this in my collection. A Winterson book. Jeanette Winterson is another author that I've been very curious about. I have her book Written on the Body, and I decided to just pick up another one because they're short, and I have a hunch that I will like her writing, and I have The Passion, so by Jeanette Winterson, and this cover is fantastic. Olive at a Book Olive recently recommended this book as one of her summer reads that she had put together in a video. Olive at a Book Olive put together a video about wonderful summer reads, and this made the list, and I saw it and I was like, why not? And that is Florence Adler Swims Forever by Rachel Beanland. It's supposed to be about grief and the water, and actually I've been doing quite a bit of swimming lately, and so I thought this would be a wonderful read to get to, especially considering where I am in my life. The next book is not going to be a surprise to basically anyone because it is just taken the internet by storm, and so many of you were very kind to say that I was not the last person on earth to read this, but though it still feels like it sometimes, and that is Circe by Madeline Miller, which is her famous retelling of the Iliad, I believe. Might be wrong on that. It could be the Odyssey. I'm not really sure. Maybe it's the retelling of the Odyssey. Oh, gracious. All right, well, it looks like we have Circe and Icarus and Odysseus. So she's definitely hanging out with the Greeks, all right? That's where she's at. And I can't wait to hang out with Madeline Miller because it seems like she's a good time. Oh, I have a classic that I haven't read and I actually don't know much about, but I know it is a classic, modern classic rather, and it's Things Fall Apart by Achebe. I don't know much about this book. Give me a moment. Okay, so this is very concisely a simple story of a strong man whose life is dominated by fear and anger. Things fall apart. This is probably a good book for me to read right now. All right, so 2 books left, and both by authors that I haven't read yet. Again, one of them is like a buzzword author for me. Like I see her name and I'm like, oh, or a magpie author? Would it be a magpie author? I see her name and my eyes go really big and I'm like, I must be close to you and have you in my arms and stuff. Okay, I'm talking about The Volcano Lover. It's a romance and it's by Susan Sontag. I mentioned my enthusiasm of wanting to get to her work, especially her nonfiction work, but this is a fiction work by her. And since I am at this point interested in anything Susan Sontag wrote, when I saw this, I knew it had to be mine. And then the final book is kind of on a whim. Last year, a whole bunch of booktubers that I quite respect and very much appreciate hearing their opinions and ideas. A whole bunch of them read Oscar and Lucinda by Peter Carey, and then it ended up being the top book for a lot of those booktubers. I'm talking about Aaron Facer and Lukas at A Cruel Reader's Thesis. They both talked very, very highly about Peter and Lucinda by Peter Carey. And so Peter Carey is one of those authors that I feel like I would really enjoy, especially considering what I know about his writing. I bought Oscar and Lucinda, y'all. I'm saying it wrong. It's Oscar and Lucinda. I have Oscar and Lucinda in my collection, but I'm always curious about, adding more, I guess. And so I saw The True History of the Kelly Gang by Peter Carey, and I thought, why not? I'll just own 2 books by this author for whom I have not read, and it will all be good. That is it though. That concludes my haul. If you have read any of these books, if you can sing the praises of these books in the comment section, I would love to know. Also, if you are curious about these books, or if you have any of these books languishing on your shelves, I would like to know that as well. But yeah, that's it. So that is the box. We're all done and all of my books. And yeah, so anyways, thank you so much for being here and spending this time with me. I really appreciate it. And I will see you all in my next one. Bye, guys.